Hi everyone. Due to some situation, I didn't attend most of the classes. How long videos will be there in Light Hall and Telegram channel is there? Time. Okay. Uh, so Ramesh, you will have access to the recording for up to 6 months, Ramesh. So 6 months from the time the recording was posted on Light Hall. So you just maybe you can start learning right now. Okay. If you have doubts, you can ask in the Telegram group. So that's fine. Hey, are you guys able to hear me? Okay. So, hi Tofi, hi Bhavesh. Okay, yeah, last time here. Last session today. Hi Aftab. So, Aftab, I think I saw your feedback on the testimonial section in Light Hall. So, thanks for that. I also saw feedback from a few other people. I think Suraya and then few more people have added feedback. So, thank you everyone. Hi Tim. Telegram channel is available for 6 months. Telegram channel will be available until everyone leaves. So it's up to you guys. Um, I'll be there in that channel, in that group, and anyone who wants to be part of the group, you can be there. Okay. Anyone you want to share any questions or any you want to discuss any topic, you can use that group. Okay. Also, if you want to share any job opportunities or any new resources that you came across to learn SQL or any other things that you guys are interested in, we can use the group for that. So no restrictions. But of course, if someone wants to leave the group, because I know it's a distraction to be part of so many different groups. So if you want to leave, you can leave, no problem. Okay. Okay, fine. So I'll just wait for a couple of minutes and then I'll start. So I'll just tell you what are the questions that I have been able to gather. Okay. So first of all, I saw some question. Okay, so I think uh, long back TASSR. I don't know if TASSR is present here. And I hope he's present here because he had asked me a question in Discord, and I'm not very clear on what that question was. Okay, at that moment I did not really focus on that question because I get too many questions. I did not. I thought I'll take up that question during the Q&A session. So I just looked at that question yesterday, and I was not able to actually understand what that was. Okay, and then there is a question asked from Sandeep. I'll try to clarify that today. There is this nested case statement asked by Ramesh. I'll look into that today. And then yesterday I received a message from um, who was that? I think I forgot. Mm. Yesterday I received a message from just a minute. From Supriya. So she's asking some questions about SQL. So I'll try to answer that. And then some question. And then yesterday, I think Ahmad asked about difference between data warehouse and database and data mart, etc. So I'll try to answer that. And then yesterday in the group, I saw one SQL query that was shared about this distance between Mumbai and Bangalore and Hyderabad and Bangalore 400. And if you guys are okay, maybe I will try to solve that problem. I'll tell you how you can solve that kind of problem. Okay. Because it's a kind of problem that even I was asked during an interview long back. Okay, so I could relate to that particular problem. Okay. So have you shared the spreadsheet that compares the SQL commands for various database versions? SQL commands. No, no, team. I do not have such spreadsheet where I have a difference in the syntax between different SQL commands. Okay, but if you're asking about the function, the inbuilt functions, I still need, I think, a few more hours to finish it. Okay, yesterday I was busy with my YouTube upload, so I couldn't manage much time. But I'll try to share it hopefully by this weekend. Okay, so I'll share it in both Lighthall as well as in Telegram. I'll give it in the next by this weekend. Okay. So what was the Excel file you were showing us? That was the inbuilt SQL functions. So I will give that by this weekend. Okay. Um, okay. So I think let's start. Um, okay, so first I want to see if the people who actually ask the questions are they actually available. So is Ahmad here? Ahmad, Ramesh, and TASSR, and Sandeep, and Supriya. So these are the five people I think whose questions I remember. And then yesterday, the person who asked this query, who was that? Surender. Surender. So is Surender here? So if you guys who ask the questions are present here, then I think it will be easy for me to explain. But if not, okay. So I'm not sure if they are there, but anyways, let me start. Okay. So I'll start with one particular question. Okay. So you guys can see my screen, right? I'm going to start with, let's say, okay. So I'll start with this. So someone asked about nested case statement. So let's look at an example for nested case statement. Okay. So I have created a procedure for that. Okay. This is what I think Ramesh wanted to learn. So I'm going to create this in, maybe I'll create it in this tab. Okay. I'll open a new tab here. Okay. So I have a nested query here. Okay. As you can see. Okay. Um, Is there anyone who is not very comfortable with nested case statement? Anyone here? Or nest is case statement very? Are you guys all comfortable with case statement? Or anyone here who is not very familiar with nested case statement? Okay. Do you know what is a nested case statement? Okay. What is a nested case statement? What do you guys think? It's like multiple if else. Multiple if else, case inside case. Yeah, okay. So it's basically a case inside case, right? Generally when you say nested, that's what it means. So we know nested subqueries. When you have SQL queries inside another SQL query inside another SQL query, then kind of it's like a nested subquery, right? The same thing for case. Okay, the concept is very simple, but Ramesh was asking about this multiple times, so I thought let me explain that with a simple example. Okay, so what I have done is I wanted to randomly pass a value for, like, randomly pass an input value rather than every time changing it in my query. I just created a procedure and I pass the input parameter. Okay. And then I have an output parameter which will pass me the result. Okay. Then this syntax, everything, I am sure you guys are familiar now. Okay. And then here I have my case statement. So basically what I'm doing is if the given input number is greater than 0 and if it is less than or equal to 10, then I want to print this. Okay. Else, if the number is greater than 10 and less than or equal to 20, then I want to print this. Okay. Else, if it is number is greater than 20 and less than or equal to 30, then I want to print this, and so on and so forth. Okay. Finally, if the number doesn't satisfy any condition, then I have an else part which kind of displays this. Okay. So this is my procedure. So first of all, let me create my procedure. My procedure is created, and now let me execute this procedure. So I'm just calling this procedure. This is my input parameter. I'm passing 23, and here I'm just passing uh, this one. Okay, and just output parameter I'm passing as blank. Okay, now when I run this, okay, internally now it's displaying 20 to 30. Okay, because I passed 23 as my input parameter. So when this procedure is called, 23 will be passed into this parameter num. Okay, and this, okay, so I'm using this input parameter num here. Okay, so here it will be 23. So what happens is this is kind of like level 1. Okay, so this is the first level of case statement. Here it's checking. Okay, so maybe I'll put that level 1 here. Maybe I'll put it here itself. Okay, and this is level 2, this is level 3, this is level 4, and this is level 5. Okay, so now when I execute this query, so num is 23. So 23 greater than 0, this is true. But is it less than or equal to 10? No, this is false. So since this condition is failing, right? And since I'm using an AND operator here, this whole thing will fail. So it will not come to the else part. It will not come to the then part. Okay. Only if both of these conditions were true, only then it would come here. Okay. In this case, one of them is false. So it will not go to the then part, but it will go to the else part. Okay, so level 1 processing has been done, but it's not basically it has not stopped processing there. Okay, then it will come to level 2. Here again it will check if 23 is greater than 10, it is true, but 23 is less than or equal to 20, this will be false, right? Hence again the level 2 condition also fails, so it will not print this then part, but it will again come to the else part. Okay, so level 1 and level 2 processing is done. Next it will go to the level 3, right? And here again it will check if num is greater than 20, that is true, and is it less than that is 23, is it less than or equal to 30, this is also true. In this case both the conditions are true, hence, and I'm using an and operator, so true and true is true, so it will go to the then part, and this 20 or 30 will get printed. So my result here is coming actually from level 3. Okay, so once this happens, what will happen next? Since once a particular case statement is successful, and since this then part is successful, it will never call the else part. Okay, so the else part will be called only if this when condition was not successful. In this case, this when condition is successful, so the else part will never be called. So after printing this, then it will directly try to find the end wherever it finds the end for this case statement. So the end for this case statement, I think it will find somewhere here. Okay, not here, somewhere here. Okay, so it will find it here. Okay, and it will come to this end. Then again there is just end, there is nothing, no other processing going on, and finally it will print this. Okay, so nested case statement is basically, it's something like this. Okay, so can you please explain about output parameter? What do dollar dollar signify? Can inside, it's like, okay, so I'll tell that. But do you guys understand what nested means? So in a case statement, if conditions are satisfied, it goes to the then part. If it fails, it goes to the else part. Okay, and once a condition is satisfied, it will, even if there are multiple when conditions after that, it will never process that. Okay, as soon as when condition is satisfied, it will do whatever it is meant to do, and it will come out of the whole case statement. Okay, so I hope that is clear. Nothing too complex about case statement. You just need to practice, you just do experiments. Maybe here you add another when condition and etc etc, you will come to know. Okay, so Ramesh, let me know if it is still not clear in Telegram group. Okay, if you are not present here. Okay, so you guys are asking about dollar dollar. Okay, so Tim, I explained about this dollar dollar in my, I think in my previous session. Were you not present in that session? Can anyone? Okay, so can anyone tell me, because I'm sure many people were present. Can anyone tell me what does this dollar dollar do? Let's see if you guys remember. What does this dollar? What is the significance of dollar dollar in this PostgreSQL? It's actually not required for other RDBMS, but why does PostgreSQL require this dollar dollar? What does it actually do? Anyone here? Let's see who remembers this. Anyone who is watching the recording also maybe can think. Why do I need a dollar dollar here? It handles the wildcard character. Uh, Not exactly a wildcard character. Wildcard character is, um, I think you have the right thinking, but maybe not the wildcard character. Was it the escape character for quotes? Yes. So Brent, I think that is right. To solve any single comma is there. Okay. So yes. Okay. So it's something. It's like, you guys are actually right. It's to handle any. If I had a text where there were if there was a text with a single quotes, then if I have to use such text, then I need to escape that single quote, right? But in order to and then in a procedure, if you have multiple such places where you have a text with a single quote, then you would have to escape it in multiple different places. In future, whenever you need to do any modifications, you will need to manually handle that. Rather, if you enclose your entire procedure within the dollar dollar, then it kind of will treat it will kind of work like a escape character. Okay, so I had given you an example, I think in one of the classes, that is, if I had, I am Taufik. Okay, if I run this, it's going to throw an error. Why? Because this is a text, but every text needs to be enclosed within a single quotes in SQL, right? And here because SQL finds a single quotes in within the text itself. So SQL imagines, or SQL thinks that this is the end of the text, but after this, whatever comes, it does not know how to handle that, because there is no single quotes to here, right? So in order to avoid this, instead of enclosing this kind of a text inside a single quotes, I can enclose this entire thing within double dollars like this. Okay, now it will work. So whatever you mention within double dollars, SQL is going to treat that text as it is. Okay, so that's the whole purpose. That is the reason you need dollar dollar. And as I told you, I don't it's kind of weird, like when programming languages make things harder. Okay, because in other programming languages you don't, in other rdbms you don't need this, only in postgresql. Okay, but anyways, whatever the reason for that, okay, that is what it is. And then out parameter. So out parameter is basically, if you see here, I executed this query and I put the into clause. Whatever was returned from the query will get stored into the v underscore res variable. And then whatever is present in this variable, I'm loading it into this res. This res is basically my parameter here. Okay. So, and in basically in any program, in any rdbms, whatever is your out parameter, it's kind of like when your procedure executes, whatever data is after the procedure is executed, whatever data is stored in this out parameter can be returned back to the user. Okay, in postgresql it directly gets returned like an sql query, but in other programming languages you may have to manually print it using a print statement, or whatever that statement is. Okay, so that is what it is. Now instead of 23, if I pass 44, okay, and if I run this, it's going to say between 40 and 50. Okay, so this is coming because of my out parameter. You can see the name here. Okay, so okay, so I think hopefully that is clear. And I see Ramesh and Sandeep both are here. Okay, so Ramesh, the case statement, did it make any sense? Of course, we can have even more nested case statement here. So after this, then again I can have another case statement. Okay, so let's do one thing. Okay, so I have this 30 to 40, right? So now I'll ask you a question here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'll have another case statement here. Case when, okay, num is equal to 45, then I say exact match. Okay, when num is greater than 42, then greater than 42. Okay. Else um, okay, so I have modified my query slightly. Okay, now let's see. Now when I execute this, okay, what, not this, where is my, okay, so when I execute this, okay, that is, I'm passing the input parameter as 44. Okay, can anyone tell me what will be the output now? I modified the case statement. You saw how I modified it. Can anyone tell me what will be the output when I pass the input as 44? What do you guys think? Okay, Suraya says greater than 42, and Kaizon says come out. Same thing, since you didn't return the procedure. Didn't return the procedure. What did I not return? The procedure will basically return whatever comes from out of this query, right, Brent? Okay, okay. So I will compile the procedure. And that is fine. But now when I execute this, okay, can you tell me what will be the output? Okay, digital tech connect 40 to 50. Okay, some people are telling 40 to 50. Couple of people are telling greater than 42. Someone said come out. What do you guys think? Let's see how much you understand case statement here. So Shantanu says greater than 42. Rivam says 40 to 50. So I see three possible outputs. Okay. Now let's try to understand. Okay. Even I don't know what is going to be the output. So let's imagine what's going to happen. So I'm going to pass 44, right? So num is 44. Now it will skip all of this. It will come here, right? It will definitely come here. So once it comes here, num is greater than 30. Uh, okay. So okay, fine. So here I added this condition here. So this greater than 40, and so I passed what, 44, right? So greater than this one but less than, so this condition will actually fail, right? Since this condition will fail, it will, okay, so this condition will fail, okay, and then it will come to the else part here, and here it will check if it is greater than 40, and this will be true, and then less than 50, yes, it is true. So I think it should print this one, 40 to 50, right? I think by mistake I added this statement here. I should probably have added it here. But anyways, this also gives you an idea. So it should probably print 40 to 50, right? So let's see, okay? And it is printing 40 to 50. You guys understand, right? Now let's do one thing. Instead of passing uh, 44, let's say I will pass 34, okay? Now can you tell me when I pass 34, what will be the output? Anyone? Come out? Okay. So Brent says come out. What about others? What do you guys think? Exact match. Okay, so Dolly says exact match and Brent says come out. Anyone else? What do you guys think? Come out. Okay, so many are saying come out. Okay, most of you guys are telling come out. So let's see what exactly happens. Okay, now I'm passing what? 34, right? So when I pass 34, this condition is successful. It comes inside here, and inside here, this case statement gets executed, right? And inside here, is num equal to 45? No, this is not true, right? And is num greater than 42? What did I pass? 34, right? So this is also not true. This condition also fails, okay? And it goes to the else part and it will just print come out, right? Once it prints come out, does it go and process any other record? No, right? So probably my output should be come out, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this and it's showing me come out. Okay, so you guys are right. Now, finally, let's do one more thing. I'll just tell 45. Okay, so now when I execute 45, can anyone tell me what will be the output now? Okay, exact match. Okay, so Brent tells 40 to 50. Exact match. Okay, so most of you guys are telling exact match, and I saw only Brent saying 40 to 50. Okay, so Sandrine says 40 to 50. Okay, Nandini 40 to 50. So now there are some people who are telling 40 to 50. Ramesh, are you here? What do you think, Ramesh? Because this was a doubt from you. You're here, right? Exact match. It goes to first match, then comes out. It goes to first match and then comes out. Okay. Mm. Okay, so let me just wait for a few. Okay, so Ramesh, you're telling 40 to 50. Okay. So, okay, so I think some of you guys are right. Okay. And some of you guys are wrong. Okay. So I passed 45 here. What happened was, uh, when I pass 45 here, it comes to this statement. Is it greater than 30? Yes. But is it less than or equal to 40? No. This condition will fail, right? Since this will fail, it will come to this else part and it will get executed here. So greater than 40, yes. 45 is greater than 40. And is 45 less than or equal to 50? Yes. So it should probably print this. Okay. Most of you guys thought that since num is 45, it will basically satisfy here and it will print exact match. But the thing is, SQL will never even go until this stage, okay, because this outer condition is failing, right? Since this outer condition is failing, it will never go here, okay? Only this outer condition will be successful, hence it should probably be in 40 to 50, okay? Now let's execute this. and you can see it is 40 to 50. Okay, so I hope everyone is clear, okay, on what is happening in case statement. Okay, uh, I think pretty interesting, and it's interesting because half of you guys got confused, right? So yeah, good one. Okay, so any confusion about nested case statement, just like programming language nested if? Yeah, so it's just a normal nested case statement. So when you learn something, you need to know from top down what's happening, right? Even though we can say that num equal to 45, but this will never even be called. Why? Because on the outer layer itself, it is getting rejected, right? The condition fails, so it will never even come to this level here. Okay. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. Okay, and the next question that I'll take is from Sandeep. Okay, and I think Sandeep's question was, so you guys can see, right? So I think this is what Sandeep had asked me. So there was a particular assignment that I had given, and it was to identify the returning active users. Okay, and I think this was the query. Okay, uh, okay. So what I'll do is I'll try to. Can I copy this? Okay, I cannot copy this. So let me try to get this query from my notes file. Okay. So this assignment was asked. When was this assignment asked? I think in session 14, probably, or session 15. Find user purchases, right? Yeah. Okay, so let's do one thing. I'll go to SQL queries, and this was the query. I think I have already created the table, so probably. But anyways, I'll create it again if not. Okay. So okay, so there was this particular assignment that I had given, okay, where I told write a query that will identify returning active users. Okay, a returning active user is a user that has made a second purchase within 7 days of any of their purchase. Okay, output the list of user IDs of these returning active users. Okay, and if I look at the table data, I had this data, 100 records here, and I had this information. Okay. Now, before I explain whatever questions Sandeep asked, I want to know how many of you guys have actually solved this assignment problem. How many of you guys have tried it, and how many of you guys have got the solution, and how many of you guys actually understood how the query worked? Okay, so Brent has solved it. What about others? Is there anyone who did not solve, who was not able to solve this problem? Okay, so Sandrine solved it halfway. Anyone else who was not able to solve it? Sandeep, you are here, right? Because you asked me this question, I think, long back. After that, were you able to go back and try to solve it again? And did you understand this now? Okay. So I'll wait for Sandeep to respond. Until then, let me explain you what is happening in this query. Okay. First of all, I have this input table, and here they are telling, so I have some ID. This is kind of like a unique identifier for this table. Okay. And then here, this is what my actual user ID is. It's the unique ID for each user, okay, who comes to the store, right? And this is the item that he purchased, and on which day he purchased it, and whatever he paid for it, or etc. Right? Um, Now, what is the question? Write a query. Write a query that will identify returning active users. So, first of all, we want to identify active users, right? Because it's mentioned active users. Secondly, we want to know returning active users, right? And then here they have given us the definition. Okay, the definition here they are telling already for returning active users. Imagine this table had another column where it was status, okay, maybe active or not active, then you may needed to put another additional condition. But here I don't see any column for status, okay. But here they have given us the definition telling that the returning active is a user that has made a second purchase within 7 days of any other of their purchase. Okay, so meaning that as a user, let's say Sandeep goes to a store and he purchases something on 1st Jan 2020. Okay, and then on 5th Jan 2020, Sandeep goes again and buys maybe the same thing or some other thing, does not matter. Okay, but Sandeep went first on 1st Jan and again he went back to the store on 5th Jan. Okay, so you can tell that Sandeep is a returning user. Why is he a returning user? Because he came on 1st Jan and on 5th Jan again he came back to the same store, right? But let's say there is another user called Ramesh. Okay, Ramesh also goes to the store and purchases something on 1st Jan, and then he goes back to the store and purchases. He goes back to the store on 1st of February. Okay, and he purchases something. As per the given definition here, even though Ramesh has went back to the store and purchased something, Ramesh is not an active returning user. Why? Because his second purchase was 1 month after the first purchase, right? Here they're telling a returning active user is a user that made a second purchase. They're talking about the second purchase within 7 days of any of their other purchase. Okay, so in when you have this kind of a requirement, okay, meaning that what I need to do here is, so how do you come up with the idea of what concept you need to use to solve this problem? Is I have some data for users. Okay, I need to compare the data of this user again with that same table data. Okay, but I need to make sure that I check for different days, and the difference in the two dates should be 7 days, right? Because that is what they have mentioned. Okay, so the user data I need to compare again with that same table, right? So that is why self join is a very good approach for solving this problem. Okay, and when I'm so basically I'm joining the same table with itself. Okay, and when I'm doing this join, I only want to find returning active users. So basically, I should match for the same user, right? And my user ID is identified by this column user ID, right? So my very first condition has to be that the user from one table has to basically the two user IDs should match. So for my first table, I'm calling it like my user, and the second table, I'm calling it like my returning user. Okay. So my first condition is I only need to do a comparison for the same user, right? So user ID equal to user ID. That is my first condition. So check for same user only. This condition I'm adding so that I can check for the same user, right? That's the first thing. Second thing is this column. Okay, now when I compare a same table to itself, basically every data, so these both are the same tables, right? If I don't put this condition, then so what happens is internally what SQL is doing is SQL takes every record from this table and compares with every record of that same table, right? Again, so first it will start processing one record at a time. So this record will start try to compare with every other record from that same table, right? Um, and then when I do the comparison, this record will already be there in the other table, right? If I don't put this not equal to condition here, this record will always match with the other record. I don't want that to happen, right? I want to compare this record with every other record of that table. I don't want to compare the same record with the same record of another table. That does not make any sense. It will just fetch me duplicate records, right? And that is why, in order to eliminate checking the same record, I put this condition. So, and for this table, the unique record is ID, not the user ID. User ID can be repeated because the same user can come multiple times, right? But this ID column will be unique. So generally, whenever you want to eliminate checking for the same record, you take the most like the primary key or the unique key in that table, and then you put a condition like this. Whenever you are doing a self join, you always remember to put a condition like this, so you kind of don't need to check for the same record. Okay, sometimes we may also put greater than. Okay, there is certain scenario where you need to do that, but here I don't want to compare the same record with itself, and that is why I'm putting this. Okay, so this condition is because to avoid um, matching the same record between the two tables. Okay, when I say the two tables, it's basically the same table here because I'm doing a self join. Okay, that is why I have this condition. Okay, and now comes the last condition. Why do I have this condition? So I'm checking if my return. So I have already termed like this second table here is my returning user, and I know that my returning user should be a user who came back to the store within 7 days of his first purchase, right? So I say my returning user ka date, okay, has to be between the user ID created date, the first time when that user came to the, maybe not the first time, the previous time the user came to that store, okay, and plus 7. So this plus 7 will basically add 7 days, right? So I hope it adds 7 days. Yes, I think it will add 7 days. Okay. So if this is 1st Jan 2020, this will be, I think, what 8 Jan 2020. Okay. And 8 Jan, or yeah, it's 8 Jan 2020. So it will check between these two. Okay. So it's basically to check if to check um, if return user came to the store within 7 days of his previous purchase. Okay, so this condition is for that. Okay, is it clear? Do you guys get some idea? If 109 comes twice, in that case, would it return 4 rows? User ID can duplicate. Since ID is unique, we can use it. If 109 comes twice, if that case, would it return 4 rows? In that case, okay, it would return multiple rows. Yes, Ramesh, and that is why I have a distinct here. Okay, because a user might have come to the store multiple times, right? So, for example, let's take 109. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'll put a where condition here, where usr dot user id equal to 109. Okay, and I'll remove this distinct. Okay, and now let's run this, and I'm getting an error. What is it? usr. Okay, now let's run this. I'm getting only one record here because, okay, because I have this condition, right? So let's go back to this table here. Here, let's check. Okay, so here I see there are 3 records for 109, and if I look carefully, so on 3rd March he did his first per. Wait, let's do an order by here. So order by created at. Okay, so 109 did his first purchase on 2nd March 2020. Okay, and then again he came back to the store on 3rd March 2020. Okay, and then again he came back to the store on 22nd March 2020. Okay, now out of this, can anyone tell me which is the record that is actually getting returned here? Can anyone tell me the first record, the second record, or the third record? Second record, right? Okay, it is a second record, right? Why? Because this is 3rd March. Only this is falling, only this record will actually satisfy this condition. Okay, this will not satisfy that condition. Why? Because this is like, the difference is more than 7 days. This is like what, 19 days or something, right? So this gets eliminated by that, and this is anyways the very first record. So this record will not even get matched because I have this check here. Okay, so and also it does not have any previous record to compare, right? So that is why this record gets matched. Okay, but I think there may be some users, so let's say 100, because I put a distinct, I think, because, okay, let's see what happens if I don't put a distinct. Should I get uh, how many records do I get? So I'm getting 39. When I put distinct, how much I get? I get 19. So I think there are certain users where data is getting repeated. So let's see for 100 what is happening. So for 100 I have, and here let's say if I put 100, how many I get? So okay, so here I think I'm getting 2. Let's see why 2. Is 2 records getting matched here? So this is 7th March 2020. Then I have 13th March 2020. So out of this, can anyone tell me, out of these 4 records, which are the 2 records that is actually getting satisfied here for our query? The first one was 3 and 4. Okay, so Ramesh tells 3 and 4. Ramesh, are you telling these two? Okay, it should be 2 and 3, right? Because we are only looking for returning users, right? This is the first time that the user came to the store, so not required. But this is the second time he came, and he came after 6 days of his initial purchase. And then again, he came third time, and this time, this was 5 days after his second purchase. So this gets satisfied and this gets satisfied. Okay, so 2 records will get satisfied. So there will be 102 times, as you can see here. Okay, and that is why I put distinct, because as per the requirement, I only wanted to return the um, unique users, or basically the user IDs, right? 18 is more than a week. 18 is not more than a week, right? You don't compare it with the very first time the user came. As per the question, they are telling within 7 days of any of their purchase. So you don't need to compare only with their first purchase. Here you compare 18 with their second purchase. Okay. So okay, so I hope this is clear. Sandeep, is it clear? I saw Sandeep was there previously, but did he log off? Okay, so maybe he can watch the recording. Anyways, that's fine. So let's move on to the next one. It falls within a week. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. Is TASSR here? Because he asked me a question and I'm not clear on what exactly he meant. Okay, so for example, maybe I will show you the question what he asked, and then if anyone else understands that, you can explain me. Okay, so this is what he asked. Okay, so you guys can see this, right? Maybe I will zoom this a little. Okay, so I don't know how to call him, but this is what his username is, TASSR. So he says, I have a small dot, but I'm not getting this out. So this was a query that I had given, find the orders where the sales amount is incorrect. Okay, and basically it's just you manually calculate the sales amount by multiplying the quantity with the price of each item, and then check if it is same as the sales total sales amount. Okay, if it is different, then that is what I want. Okay, and then a second query, fetch the total sales done for each day. Okay, again from the same table, and sum of sales, again he's converting it into decimal here. Okay, and he's getting some sales amount, okay, for each order day. For eighth question, if we mention, or if we didn't mention cost, if I mention cost here, cost, okay, cast, okay, to decimal, the result is same. Still, if sales column is under float, still if sales column is under float. But for seventh question, if we remove cast to decimal, it is showing some extra 300 records. Okay, okay. Mm, okay, I'm not sure if this is actually the case, but did anyone understand what do you mean by this? What is his question here? Anyone? I think what he's telling is this query is returning different data, the query number 7, if he removes the cast. When he says cast, if he removes this conversion into decimal. Okay. He's telling if you remove this, he's getting 300 extra records. But if you add it, the count is different. Okay. So let's see if that is the case. Okay. First of all, I have copied that question here. And I think this was his question. Okay. So this is a sales order table. I'm getting 1304 records. Okay, And first of all, I have my sales order table here. It is having 2,823 records. And so let's do one thing. Okay. So what it's telling is, if you didn't mention cast to decimal is the same. Okay. So in the eighth question, whether there is cast or not, the result is the same if sales column is under float. But for seventh question, if the remove cast to decimal, it is showing extra 300 record. Okay. Which is under the sales amount. Okay, so let's try to understand what he means. So first of all, I'll remove this cast completely. Okay, so if I execute this, I'm getting 1697 records. Okay, and here I'm getting one. No, no, yeah, so 1697 records. So 1697 records, and here he's getting 1304 records. 1304 records. Okay, so I think now I understand. So this output is different from this output, and the only difference is this conversion of the data type, right? Why is it happening? So let's try to understand. Okay, so let's do select star from order, quantity ordered. Quantity order is an integer column. Okay, price each is a double precision. Okay, so first of all, let's do one thing. I'll get this value here. Okay, so and okay. So I have my sales that I'll take it here, and then I'll try to do a multiplication of this. Okay, and then I'll do one thing. So I'll do this conversion into decimal. Okay, here, and I'll also do this sales card decimal here. Let's say I'll do sales here. Okay. So I'm just taking all the columns and with the conversion, without the conversion, with multiplication, and let's see what is happening. Okay. So now quantity order is integer, and just hold on 1 minute. I'll just be back. Okay. So what is happening here is quantity ordered is integer and price each is double precision. Okay. And then when you multiply these two, here it is double precision. So integer into double precision will be, so double precision basically means it is float. Okay. So let's go back and search for this data type first of all. Okay. So data type in PostgreSQL. I think this one. So double precision is okay. So double precision is float. Where is decimal? Decimal. Okay, so decimal is this one, numeric. Okay, so let's go back to our thing. Here it is double precision and then numeric. Okay, so this became numeric and then okay. Hey, just 1 minute. There is some disturbance. Okay, sorry for that. Okay, so now let's come back to the problem. So we have quantity ordered into price each. So here I'm converting it into numeric, and then here it is double precision, and this is numeric. Okay. Now my question is, why is it different? So why is this different from this? So here it is 4900. Why am I getting different records, right? Has anyone guessed it? Why are we getting different record? Does anyone know why this record here fetches me 1300, but this one fetches me 1600? Almost 400 records more. Uh, you guys also think, okay, why are you getting a difference here? Okay, let me also see what is the reason. Can we find any differences here? It is because decimals are making difference. Yeah, that we know decimals are making the difference, but it should ideally not make any difference, right? Is it rounding the value to certain? Ideally, it should not round because decimal also is a basically it's going to return a decimal point value. And oh wait, okay, so 1 minute. So I have okay, so I'll name it like without decimal. We'll call it like with decimal. Okay, and let's see what is happening. So without decimal, with decimal. Mm, what is happening here? We are using the same table, right? So this is sales. Anyone? You can take your query and minus the. Yeah, we can do that, but I'm just trying to see like, can you add an extra column by subtracting the last two column? We know the difference in output. Um, okay, so you mean subtraction of this, is it? Okay, let me just think. I was distracted by some noise, so maybe not able to focus. So let me now try to focus and see what is happening. Okay, so I have this quantity ordered into decimal and I'm getting it without decimal here. And then I have sales, that is this. Okay, without decimal and with decimal, they both look the same. Okay, so let's do one thing. Um, I'll put this with CPE as okay, and I'll say where without decimal is not equal to with decimal. Okay, so let's see which are okay, here I say star and let's see this. They are exactly the same. So basically there is no difference. So this one is same as this. So this decimal should not make any difference. So is the problem with the sales? Okay, so let's do one thing. I'll say as sales in decimal. Okay, so I'll put another condition here or sales in decimal, sales not equal to sales in decimal. Now let's run this. Now also it's the same. So basically what this means is whether you put this or you don't put that decimal, it's the same. So why is the output returning something wrong, something different? What's the time? Okay, we have some time. Anyone able to guess anything? I am not able to guess what may be the reason here. Take out the decimal from your yeah, like if from your where clause is it? Okay, so let's remove this. Let's see what happens. Okay. Oh, okay, okay. I think good suggestion, Brent. I think now it probably makes sense, right? If you see here, okay, without decimal, it is 2765.89. Okay, that is dot 89. But when I put decimal, it is rounding it off. Okay, it is rounding it off to dot point 0.9. Okay, so when comparing with the sales, uh, it will compare, this column will compare with this column, right? Here you can see that 8.89 is not equal to, yeah, so dot 89 is not equal to dot 9, right? So this record will get fetched. But when I convert it into decimal, it's rounding the uh, what is that, it's rounding the decimal values after the values after the decimal point. So here it is coming zero point 0.9, zero point 0.9 is equal to zero point 0.9. So this record will not get satisfied for this particular condition. Okay, and I think that is the difference. So to answer the question from TASSR, the reason that you're getting is that the difference is when you try to do a comparison by converting the value into a decimal, it's actually rounding off the decimal, it's rounding off the values after the decimal point. Okay, in that case there might be some difference. So this 0.89 is different from zero point 0.9, right? And that is why there is a mismatch in record. Okay, is it clear? Ideally, when you are doing this kind of a comparison, you should not convert it into decimal, because we want the actual values to take and then try to do this comparison. We should not be converting it into any numeric value, into any decimal thing. Okay, we generally do that conversion when we are printing that value. Here it is fine because we want to print maybe just 2 decimal points or something. Okay, when we are doing the comparison, we take the actual value what we get from the table. Okay, so I think very good question. Okay, took some time to notice this, and thanks to Brent for suggesting this solution. Okay, so let's move on to the next problem. Mm, okay, so what was the next problem that I had? Okay, so I think Ahmad asked about the difference in data warehouse, database, data mart, etc. Right? Uh, is there anyone who is interested in knowing the difference between these, or do you guys already know the difference? Data mart is a subset of data warehouse. Okay, that is correct. Uh, okay, so I'll try to explain in the most simplest of terms. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open Excel file, just some Excel file that I like, random Excel file. Okay, I'll just open this. Okay, so generally, right, I think we have these four. So database, data lake, data warehouse, and data mart. Okay, so I'll do one thing. I'll freeze this. Okay, you ignore all of this definition for now. Okay, for now, just to see, we have database, we have data lake, data warehouse, and data mart. Right now, the first thing that you need to remember is all of these are actually database. Okay, the thing is, internally they are all database. Okay, just that they have been created for different purpose. Okay, and for each purpose there is a different naming that is given by different companies, etc. Okay, um, what is database? We all know what is a database. It's basically a container that stores data, right? It's basically stores data, right? Data is stored in tables. It can have schemas, it can have a lot of other objects, right? But at the end of the day, the purpose of database is to store data, right? Now all of these are also database, so meaning that all of these are also actually storing the data, but their purpose is different from one another. Okay, now generally we say database is something like it stores transactional data, meaning that uh, any data that you have, it will kind of like store it. Okay, so I'm going to explain this with one simple example. Okay, one real case example. So as a person that I use computers, I have my laptop. So I have a Mac laptop. Okay, that is my primary laptop. I also have a secondary laptop, which is a Windows laptop, very old one. It also has some data of mine. Okay, then now in my laptop I have a lot of data, right? I have data about my personal stuff, about my official stuff, about my YouTube, about my blog, about these classes that I'm conducting, financial data, and so many other things, right? All of the things that are stored in my laptop, actually I can consider my laptop to be also one source of my data, right? My laptop has lot of my data, right? So that you can read it like a database, right? Similarly, my second laptop also has lot of my data, okay? And I also have a phone, right? My phone also has lot of my photos, my videos, and lot of other personal information, right? That is also one form of data. So so I can just tell here, so let's do one thing. Maybe I'll just open a new window here. Okay, so la- um, primary laptop, or maybe instead of rewriting it, I'll just use what I have written here. Okay, so you ignore these for now. Okay, so you can see here I have my main laptop, I have my secondary laptop, and my phone. Okay, these are all, I can treat it like my database. Okay, now generally when I have this much of data, it's always better that I take a backup of my data somewhere, right? Because my laptop might get crashed, or maybe I will go to some other place where I might need some data and etc. And just to be on the safer side, I would take a backup. Okay, now I have an external hard disk which is of, let's say, 2 TB of size. Okay, in my external hard disk, basically, okay, to be frank, I have one external hard disk which is of 1 TB of size, and in that hard disk, what and that hard disk, I have been using it from the past 7 8 years. Okay, and I think probably much before that. So what I used to do is, every time I, because my phone, previously all my phones, right, all my data from my phone, I used to just go and copy it into my hard disk. Okay, just that entire data from my phone, I used to put it into my hard disk. And also from my old laptops, I have actually used many old laptops. All the data from my old laptop, I have just dumped it into my hard disk. Okay, so in my hard disk, I have data coming from my multiple different old laptops, my my current phone, my previous phones, etc. I also have information about something else, maybe like from my wife's phone or some other things. Okay, so this external hard disk can be treated like a data lake, because it's kind of like a backup. You take all the data that is available from all of your multiple sources, and you just put it in one place, that is your data lake. Okay, that is why it's called a lake. It receives data from multiple different sources, and it kind of will have every single data. Okay, it's kind of like your backup space. Okay, databases, and this is like when I take a backup, I data lake will get data. Database is something like every day when I do something, okay, every single day, every minute, whatever I'm doing, every data is coming and storing into my database. Okay, that is why it's called transactional data. Every single transaction that you do, and when I say transaction, I'm not just talking about financial transaction. Maybe when I download a photo from the internet, okay, that is also some form of transaction, right? Everything that I do live is getting stored into my database. Okay, data lake is kind of like a backup where data from multiple different sources is stored in this one place. The problem with data lake is, it's like I'm just it's like junk, not like junk, but I'm just dumping all the data from multiple different sources into my data lake. Okay, and I'm hoping that someday I will use it in a proper way. Okay, so this is what data lake is. Next comes data warehouse. Now data warehouse is something where it kind of is built for the analytic purpose. Okay, now this is transaction. Okay, so I can just tell, okay, now this is transaction processing, all the live data, what is happening currently on day-to-day basis, database gets it stored. Data lake is data from multiple different sources. It's kind of like your backup for all the different data that you have from different, because generally in companies, right, you would not have one database to store everything. You'd have multiple different databases, right? And different database to store data coming from different sources, right? I'll explain that a little later. Okay, that is data lake. And then data warehouse is built for analytic purpose. Let's say you want to do some reporting, or you want to do some prediction on your sales and your revenue and something like that. So you want to build a report which will give you an information about how the sales have been going on in the last 10 years or something like that. Okay, in order to know that, you don't need every single data that is present in the database, because database will have a lot of garbage data as well, lot of unwanted data that you may never use. Okay, but database still needs to store it, because every single information about your company, you will need to store it, right? But data warehouse only will have data that is actually required for your reporting, for analytic purpose, which can improve your revenue, which can help you to better understand your customers, etc. Okay, so only the useful information that you need, you'll put it into data warehouse. Okay, this is what data warehouse is. And then finally comes data mart. Now let's say once you have all of this useful information in data warehouse, let's say you are building a very small project for one particular purpose. Okay, in that case, let's say your database has 100 tables. Okay, 100 different tables. Okay, and so let's say you have 100 tables in one database, another 150 tables from another database, and you have another 20 from some other database. Okay, these are all different databases. And when it comes to data lake, you pull everything together and put it into data lake, so from multiple different sources. Okay, so this would be, let's say, 170 tables, just example. Okay, but when you're building a data warehouse, you're building it for your analytic purpose, and let's say you only want, let's say, 40 tables from all of this. Okay, whatever data that you need for your analytic purpose, all that data is stored, let's say, in the 40 tables that you know. Okay, so you only extract the 40 tables from here and you put it into your data warehouse. Okay, and now finally, let's say you're building a data mart where you're building a small project for a specific purpose. Okay, you're not building some end-to-end report for your revenue purpose or for business or something. Maybe you're building a small product. Okay, small product which is going to help customers to better engage with your platform. Okay, for that particular platform or for that particular product, you need to fetch the data from this data warehouse, but you don't need all the data from the data warehouse. Let's say you only need 10 of those tables. Okay, so you only build this data mart using the 10 of these tables. Okay, so I'll just call tables. Okay, something like this. So this is your data mart. That is why it's called subset of your data warehouse. Okay, so initially you have database, which basically is going to kind of like every data that comes every single day, every single second comes to the database. Data lake is where you take a backup of all your multiple different sources and put it into your data lake. Okay, data warehouse is something generally built for analytic purpose, where you only have data that is going to make sense for your business or something like that. Okay, and data mart is whenever you're building a new project or a new tool or something where you need some specific information, you kind of take a subset of this and create a data mart. Okay, so this is what the overall picture is. Now let's say if I have to explain in the sense of a banking domain. Okay, generally what would happen in a banking. Okay, so in a banking, we could say that all the banking related information about the transactions that are happening, the accounts, the loans, and all of these are like the core banking information, right? That would be stored in one database. Okay, that would be stored in one database. Then you would have maybe uh, some other information about all the investment that the bank is doing around the world. Okay, all the different investment and whatever the bank, because bank is not just going to be giving you money, right, for loan. What is the main thing of banks, how are they actually making money, is once they give loan to you, you are giving them the interest, right? And that with that interest they are making money. But the banks will not just keep your interest in the bank, right? They will be investing that money somewhere else, right? And the information about their investment and how they are making money, everything, they would not want to store that information again in the same database where they have their customer information and the loan information. So for that, that information might be stored in a different database. Okay, and then some banks would acquire some companies, some softwares, and etc etc, right? Those information might be stored in some other database. Okay, or for the acquired companies, they might have some other database. Okay, and that information may be in a different database, etc, right? And then etc. So a bank will have data from multiple different sources. Okay, and all of those sources will kind of be like transactional data, because every day the data might get updated, and that is everything is stored in a database. Okay, now not every bank, but some of the banks may want to have a backup resource, saying that we have data from so many different sources, we want to like pull everything together and put it into one place. Okay, so that in future we have one place where we have all the data, and that is what is data lake, sources, data from multiple sources. Okay, and then let's say the bank is maybe building a new analytic purpose. They want to know, in order to for whom to give credit cards, which are their which are the customers, where they think the uh, it will be very profitable for them to give credit cards. They want to build a report, okay? And maybe I'm just giving you one example. There might be many such scenarios where the bank wants to increase their revenue. For that, they want to build reports so they can analyze the old data and they can do some predictions, okay, using machine learning or whatever. They For that, they would maybe want to build a data warehouse where they only extract the data related to that stuff they are building, maybe about the customer information, the financial information, or whatever, right? That is what they do by using a data warehouse, okay? And then let's say the bank is building a new product, okay, a new feature for certain customers only, okay? And that new product, they might build it using a new data mart, okay? Because in future, if they want to update that product, they only need to update this data mart. They don't have to touch the data warehouse, they don't have to touch the database, because they will have that small project what they have built, everything in this particular data mart. And generally what they do is, for multiple different projects, they would build multiple different data mart, okay? So this is the whole structure, okay? The whole flow. Now when it comes to data warehouse, right, in today's world, warehouse is also very popular, because most of this data warehouse is actually now cloud based, okay? So can anyone tell me what are the most popular cloud based data warehouse? Does anyone know? Okay, Snowflake. Yes, Snowflake is actually uh, gaining. Teradata, yes, okay. uh, Amazon has a lot of different products. Which exactly is a data warehouse? Okay. That is, so I think the most popular, I would say, is Snowflake is actually gaining a lot of popularity. We have, I think, what, Redshift, okay, and then yeah. So and then there are few others, okay. So I think Google has their own cloud platform, GCP. Even Azure, you can. I think there is a warehouse. There is a cloud-based data warehouse, right? So there are many cloud-based data warehouse. And does anyone know what is the difference between a normal data warehouse and a cloud-based data warehouse? Okay, I hope everyone knows what is cloud. Okay, is there anyone who does not know what is cloud? Actually, non-cloud also we can access online. What is cloud? Can anyone define? Everyone talks about cloud, right? Do you know what is cloud in in most simplest English terms? Okay, so yeah, so basically we have previously, if a company wanted to build a software or build a platform or something, first of all they needed to set up a server, right? They needed to purchase the server, and they needed to first of all know how much storage they need, how much performance they need, like what is the processing speed they would need, how much everything, all the details about the server they would need, and then they can build their platform, right? But today what is happening is, all most of these new companies that are coming, they are not going to be spending money on purchasing all of this infrastructure, like to make a server, etc., right? What they do is, they will just go to AWS, or they will just go to GCP, or Azure, or whatever, right? And they will just purchase a subscription from these cloud based providers, and they will tell that we need, let's say, 10 terabyte of data with whatever configurations they need, and for up to this time, okay? And then based on the usage, they will pay money to AWS or whatever the providers, right? What is AWS basically doing? They have basically the what is that called, the data, what is that called, data, I forgot. If you go to YouTube, yeah, the data storage facilities. There is a term, right, that is called for that. If you go to YouTube and search Facebook, the data centers, right? So they have all of these data centers, which uh, so if you go to AWS, if you want to see the AWS data centers, they are scattered across different places in the world, okay? And they are huge facilities where they have built huge servers, okay? So internally, when I purchase a AWS subscription, it's kind of like so in their one of, I can choose which data center, and in their data center they will allocate, let's say, 110 TB of space for me, for my company, right? And then I can, through online, I can access that space, okay? And that data center is basically what they call it, like cloud, Okay, a company does not have to set up a infrastructure in their local office. They can just access the data center that is already set by Amazon in maybe in some country, maybe in America or Australia or somewhere, right? And that is a concept of cloud. Okay, you pay for how much you use. Generally, Snowflake is very famous because um, yeah, I think how much you store or something like that, right? How much you use their data center storage, that much you pay. Okay, that is what cloud is. And generally nowadays, everyone, the data warehouse they are using, they are all using cloud based data warehouse. Okay, even my current company, we are using cloud based data warehouse. Okay. Okay, so fine, I think this gives some information about. Did it help? Did you guys understand something, or did you think it was like too vague and not very meaningful? Did you guys get some understanding about all these four most popular type of database? They're all database, okay? Like some people might think that data warehouse is not a database, but at the end of the day, they are all database, okay? Just their functionalities are different. Tomorrow, some new terminology might come. Just people keep creating new terminologies for a different purpose. Not doing it help and was meaningful. They keep going to the room for data breach very often. Okay. Okay. So I think that's all. I think I had. Is there any other question that you want me to answer? Any questions? Anything else that anyone wants to ask? What is Databricks? What is Databricks? I've never actually worked on Databricks. Does anyone know what Databricks? I think it's a. I forgot. Databricks. What is Databricks? Data Lakehouse architecture. I think this Databricks is a competitor to Snowflake, right? Snowflake is a cloud-based data warehouse, so I think Databricks is also a cloud-based data warehouse. And I have heard, okay, this is where I have heard because actually I'm learning Snowflake, okay, because it is required for my new job. And I used to see videos where they're comparing Databricks with Snowflake, telling which is better. Is Databricks better or Snowflake is better? So they both are, I think, cloud-based data warehouse, but I am not familiar with Databricks. Can you please tell me how you? Okay, then someone asked about dates in MS SQL. Okay, so dates in MS SQL, I'm going to share with this inbuilt. I'm going to share an Excel file where I'm going to mention all the important date inbuilt functions in MS SQL. Okay, and I'll also give you sample syntax, and you can just execute those sample syntax in your MS SQL database. And I'll also give you the description. Hopefully, that will be self-explanatory. I don't have to explain that. Once you look into that file, you will be able to understand what they are. Okay, I'll share it hopefully by this weekend. Okay, can you please tell me? Can you please tell me how you are selecting the entire line? How you are selecting the entire line just by bringing your cursor anywhere in the center? I feel you're not even dragging through the mouse. Uh, it's simple shortcut. It's like, so you're saying here, right? So I'm using Mac. So I just do command and right click button. So it goes to right click. If I do command left, it goes to left. And then if I just press shift, that's it. So it's just like command shift and arrow mark. So just try it out. Command shift and arrow mark. Okay. Shortcut keys. Double click also I can do. So if I not double, triple click, if I do triple click, then it will select the entire line. That is also fine. Sometimes I find difficult to understand when to use a join and hey, okay. So I want to ask one more thing. Yesterday, someone shared. I mentioned his name. What was his name? Uh, Surender. Is Surender in the is present here? Is Surender present here? Because yesterday Surender asked a question about source destination distance. Did anyone try to solve that problem? Maybe no one has seen that. That's fine. Maybe I will message in the group itself then. Okay, I'll try to. Because I like that problem. I wanted to make a YouTube video about it. So I wanted to ask if Surender is okay if I make a video with that particular question that he posted. If you guys have any SQL problems, right, interview problems or any interesting problems, you can share it with me if you are okay, so that I can make a video about that. Okay. I'm just trying to find real SQL interview problems so that I can make videos on that. Okay. So that I have a playlist where anyone in future wants to go an SQL interview, they just can come to my playlist and look at all this, solve all the queries that I have. Hopefully that practice will be good enough for them to clear an interview. That is the intention. Okay. So sometimes I find it very difficult to understand when to use a join when I have a problem to resolve. Actually, Sandrine, the answer to that is you just need to practice more. Okay. Um, you need to see how people are solving SQL queries. What is their thinking? You can watch my playlist that I have made where I'm solving SQL queries, because I'm not just giving you the solution, I'm telling you what is my approach, right? And if you look 5 or 10 such videos, you will start getting ideas. Okay. And then you start solving it, go to strata scratch, try to solve problems. Only practice will give you the like the idea on what concept you should use, when you should use self join, when you should use inner join, what type of join you should do. Everything will come to know only with practice. Can you do a YouTube video on Snowflake in the future? Yes, I will be doing it. Actually, I'm learning Snowflake. I will be doing a certification on Snowflake very soon, and probably I'll do few projects in Snowflake. And once I feel confident on that, then I will try to make a playlist on Snowflake. Because to be frank, when I go to YouTube and search about Snowflake, there are actually no good videos explaining about Snowflake. So hopefully, I will be making them myself. There's nothing good out there. Yeah, that is right. I did not find any good videos. Actually, I'm learning Snowflake from the Snowflake documentation itself. And that is actually a lot to learn, but I don't find any other place to learn Snowflake. Databricks is better than Snowflake. Snowflake is recent one. Okay, so I think this is up for argument. Like I have seen videos where people are comparing it and people tell Snowflake is better and some people tell Databricks is better. I think you missed my question. How to display columns dynamically from rows for pivot? How to display columns dynamically for rows for pivot? Table instead of hard coding column names. If you cannot answer it today, do not worry. You can make a YouTube video. Okay. So Bhavesh, this particular question, right? I think this was asked during when I took that pivot class. I think session 18 or 19, whatever. And I mentioned that I think I mentioned in PostgreSQL, we can do that by just mentioning. If you look at my solution, I have also given you the SQL query, right? So from the SQL query, dynamically it will take all the columns. Okay, you don't have to manually specify the column name. But when it comes to Oracle and Microsoft SQL Server, I think I did not find a solution for that. I think we could not use SQL query there. We had to use column name, but at this moment, I am not familiar if there is a way to dynamically pass multiple columns. Okay, let me research that. Okay, and if I find it, I'll try to make a video as you said. Okay. What the heck is lake house? I'm not sure, man. Like what is lake house? Lake house is a company, right? I just saw it now. I don't know. I'm not familiar with that, Tim. Is stored procedure atomic? I'm not sure what you mean by atomic, Asgar. There are a lot of these terminologies. Okay, like is it atomic? Is it something something? I get so many different terminologies. I'm not familiar with a lot of these terminologies. I think if you explain the context, then I can maybe explain. I'm not very familiar with all of these terminologies. Um, Now they are just making up terms. Okay, is there any Python courses will you take in the future? Yes, I will take Python course. Once I settle in my new place, I'll start making more tutorial videos, including Python and SQL. Simply double click. Okay. Can you please explain in your words what do you mean by cursor? Okay. In simple words. Okay. So let's go back to the procedure that I created. So here, right, I don't remember the proper syntax here and all. Okay. But generally, what I can do is, so this query that I have written here. Okay, whatever this query that I want to share this with you guys. So first of all, let me take a copy of that so that I don't lose this. So 1 minute. Okay, to the copy. Maybe I'll just open another window here. So generally, cursor is something that is going to store your data from your. It's going to store the result set temporarily. Okay, so what I can do is this query that I have written here, I can just remove that query from here. Okay, and I can open a cursor c underscore, I don't know, maybe data is, and I can put that query here. Okay, I don't need the into clause then. Okay, and I can have it here. Okay, uh, so what you do in a cursor is, inside a cursor you generally specify a SQL statement, SQL query. Okay, and then you can use this cursor inside your execution section. So here I can come and I can say open cursor. Okay, and then fetch cursor into, let's say, my v underscore result. Okay, and then I can do close cursor. Okay, something like this. I don't know if this syntax will actually work. Okay, but this is generally, this is how it is. Okay, so you open a cursor, you declare a cursor. Inside the cursor we generally specify some SQL queries. Okay, and then inside your executable section in your procedure or any like function or whatever, you open the cursor, you fetch the data from that cursor, and you can do a lot of things here. I can put a limit of, let's say, limit 5 or something. I can also do bulk limit, a bulk load, like for performance tuning and etc. Okay, so what this kind of does is, every time I open a cursor and when I do a fetch the data from the cursor, it's going to go internally execute the query and it's going to store the result set. Okay, somewhere in the memory, this result set of that query will be stored temporarily by that cursor. Okay, and then we can fetch the data from that cursor and then load it. We can use it for processing. We can loop through that data. We can fetch only some records from that data and etc. Okay, now in certain cases, if you have queries which are fetching thousands of records, using cursor is better because you can limit how many because when so what happens is, when you write a query and when it is fetching, let's say, 1 million records, and you have to process that. Okay, the database might have to store that 1 million records somewhere in the memory, and then it has to process it. To store 1 million record, it will take a lot of space, right, and lot of processing power. It might make your processing slow. Instead of that, if you put it into a cursor, okay, and from a cursor, when you're fetching, I can put a limit of, out of 1 million, just fetch 1000 at a time. So it will only fetch 1000 at a time, and then here I can loop through the data. So I can loop through my cursor. Okay, and do something, do the processing for 1000 record at a time, or something like that. Okay, so it's very useful when, for certain performance tuning also, and for certain other scenarios. Okay, but generally we create a cursor over a query. So cursor will temporarily store the result set of our query, and then we can process the records, the data returned from that result set, to do whatever processing that we want to do. Okay, in the very vague terms, this is what a cursor is. Okay, if Azure platform project client use the Databricks instead of, if Azure platform project client use data, actually Snowflake also supports Azure, AWS, and the other one, GCP, right? All the three are supported currently. Please provide session 13 assignment answers. um, I think for one of the assignment questions I have not given the answer, but it's not session. Oh, yeah, session 13 for the project, right? Okay, I will give it all of that after this class. Okay, I'll give it, Ramesh. Approach is more important than the solution. Please provide session 13. Okay, I will give it. Is Snowflake only on Amazon? No, Snowflake is present in all the three major, this one. Amazon, Azure, AWS, Azure, and GCP. I have installed, but I don't know how to use it. Okay, try Udemy. In Udemy, there is a Snowflake course, right? I saw one of the YouTuber who has made a course, but I'm not sure how good it is. Maybe I'll check it out. As an interviewer, what do you expect an individual should know, and how much he or she must know about SQL? It depends on what is your experience level, right? So if you are a beginner, I would expect you to know joins. You should know aggregate functions. You should know subqueries. Okay, and yeah, I think joins, subqueries, aggregate functions. If you know this much, this is like you have to know for a fresher. But additionally, if you know with clause, that is CTE, and if you know window functions, that is good. Okay, and if you are an experienced person, you should definitely know recursive SQL queries. You should know pivot tables. Okay, and you should be able to solve. You should be comfortable with self join. Okay, more importantly, because self join is very important. Okay, we use it all the time when solving complex queries. Okay, so depends on your experience what the expectation is. And I'll tell you one trick, okay? As an interviewer, when I go to an interview, when I ask questions about SQL, I'm not looking for definitions, okay? When I ask them what is the difference between DDL and DML, I don't want definitions, okay? Or when I ask about when should you use a self join, or when I tell them like about a window function or whatever, right? I, it's okay if they answer wrong, okay, but I am looking for someone who has the right thinking, okay. When they look at a problem, so let's say you have a problem, and maybe whatever the problem, okay, I want them to explain what is their approach to solving this problem. Even though they are not able to solve the problem, I am fine with that, until and unless they have the right approach, okay. Because if you have the right approach, with practice you will be able to solve it in the future. But if you do not even have the approach of, if you do not have the right thinking, right, then it's a problem, okay. So, and it's not just for SQL, even for Python or something, right? If you can come up with the steps on how you would be solving this problem, that is still good, okay, even if you are not able to give the proper output, okay. So you should just be able to explain the approach, right? Because it should not be like you just did a by heart of some SQL query and you're just coming and writing something. You should know internally how SQL is actually processing the query, right? If you know that, then interviewers will probably accept you. Um, Learned a lot from you. Want for your wait for next. Okay, thanks, Sharath. Cursor is overcome the out of the memory issue. Is overcome the out of the memory issue. Okay, when we make update select data, how many rows it fetch select update at a time? It depends. Okay, generally your update will happen one row at a time, but there are faster ways of doing that using certain performance tuning concepts. Okay, how different role use different tool and process. Okay, so Kaizong, I think this was your question. Um, Now this is a question very difficult to answer. Okay, um, as a data analyst, so different roles in different companies working on different projects, your responsibilities may differ. Okay, so for example, a data analyst in one company might be using only Excel and SQL. Okay, because they only need to extract the data from the database or query the data from the database, and most of the time their data would be there in Excel file. So he's a data analyst, but he's analyzing data just by using Excel file, writing formulas in Excel, and then querying the data from the database, etc. Okay, he may not be involved in maybe building dashboards using some tools. Maybe he will build some simple dashboards in Excel itself. Okay, and there may be certain other data analyst who will be primarily be using Python. Okay, so let's say he only uses Python, and maybe he uses SQL also very little. Okay, maybe just for extracting the data, and then once the data is available, he will just use data frames in Python to load the data into the data frames, and then from data frames he will do all the analysis, and then he can build dashboards using the other libraries like matplotlib or seaborn or etc, right? So he may extract data from SQL, he may analyze the data using Python, and he might visualize the data using Python itself. Okay, and there might be some other data analyst who would be primarily be using Tableau or Power BI. I know such data analyst, okay, who who will extract the data using SQL. Maybe they need to connect to some database, and they need to connect their Power BI or Tableau to some database, extract the data from there, and then analyze the data in Tableau itself, and then visualize the data. Okay, so I would say these are three different types of data analysts that you can come across. A data analyst who will primarily use a visualization tool, maybe Tableau, Power BI, or maybe some other. Okay, but still he will need to have knowledge of SQL, because you will need to still connect to the database, maybe sometime query the data from the database, etc. The second type are the people who will maybe mainly use Python. Okay, even then they'll still need to use SQL to query the data, extract the data, and inside Python code also you will need to write SQL statements to do certain processing or extraction of data and connect to the database, etc. Right? And the third type is who only mainly use Excel file and SQL. Okay, different companies would have different tools they will be using. Okay, but the most simplest but in the most common terms, what a data analyst is expected to do is, you should know how to extract the data. To extract the data, you should have the knowledge of SQL, right? And then you should know how to analyze the data. In order to analyze the data, you might use Excel, you might use Python. Okay, And then you should know how to visualize the data, because whatever data you have analyzed, whatever data you have cleaned, and whatever uh, uh, EDA that you have done, you will need to showcase it to some people who is not very technical, right? Maybe your stakeholders or someone, right? In that case, you need to build dashboards, and for building dashboards, you can either use Python or you can use some dedicated visualization tools like Tableau, Power BI, or some other. Okay, so it all depends on the company. Okay, and it depends on your project as well. Okay, I have worked on projects where I was doing data analysis, and I only had to use Excel. Okay, and in the same company I worked on another project where I had to use a visualization tool. It was not Tableau or Power BI, it was completely different dashboard tool. Okay, I think it was Superset, and there were two tools. Okay, and it was in PwC. They asked me to specifically use that tool, and PwC was a place where for every project I had to use a different tool, because in PwC they did not bother about which programming language you used, which tool you used. Different for each of their project. If you had to learn a new skill, you had to learn it. And PwC was very good because they would give you free training. Actually, in PwC itself, they gave us free Python training. That is where I started learning Python. Okay, and they had this external trainer for a week or 2 weeks, and they trained on Python. And then there were other courses they recommended we learned, and there were also some other visualization tools that they asked us to learn for a particular project. Okay, so depending on which company you go, which project you're working, you might have to learn different tools. And because nowadays these big companies, right, they don't care about programming languages, they don't care about the tools that you're using, because once you know any one tool, learning another tool is very easy. Once you know any one programming language, learning another programming language is very easy. Okay, so in big companies, they are not stuck with a particular language or a particular tool. Okay, different requirements may need different, you may need to learn different tools. Okay, um, that's just a vague explanation, I hope it makes sense. um, Tina, Google, BigQuery, if so, how do you like them, how they compare with each other? I have used Google BigQuery a little. uh, Actually, Amazon Athena, right? I was actually learning it for. I had an interview, I think, couple of years back in one of the big companies here, and they were using Amazon Athena, and that is why I started learning it. But I have I have never done too much. I have never actually worked on any projects. I just use it for learning purpose. Okay, to be frank, I did not feel much difficulty in learning them, because at the end of the day, everything is SQL. At the end of the day, Athena and BigQuery, they're all tools. You, it's like learning any new tool, right? You just need to know the interface of that, where you can find certain things, and then everything happens through SQL. So you just need to know how to write SQL queries to extract the data, to analyze certain data or something. So if you know SQL, all of these tools you can learn very easily. Not a big deal. Um, if I get very well in answering the questions I learn from here, can I call myself advanced SQL user? I would not. So if you joined my class and you had no knowledge of SQL prior, after this class, I would recommend that you don't call yourself as advanced in SQL. Okay, I would say that you are basic to intermediate. Then it depends on how much you practice, how many problems you are able to solve on status scratch and on lead code, etc. Then maybe based on that you can improve yourself to call like intermediate to advanced level. At this stage, I don't think so. I would want you to call yourself like advanced level. A lot of people do that mistake. Okay, they take a course and then they think they are experts. Okay, I have seen people doing that. They take a course and then they put in their resume they are five years of experience or 3 years of experience in SQL. Okay, and then they go to the interview, and let's say by luck they clear the interview. Okay, and then when you go to the job, your your colleagues will be expecting you that you are an expert in SQL. They will give you all the hard things, and then you will be like stuck. Recently, one of the person reached out to me in LinkedIn, and she actually did that. Okay, she got a job, and she's struggling in her job now. Okay, because I think she faked her experience. Okay, and then the company doesn't know that you faked, right? They expect you to behave like a 5-year experienced guy in SQL, and if you're not able to solve those queries very quickly, then you're going to suffer later on. Okay, so it's better that you tell the truth. You just started learning, right? You call yourself basic to intermediate. I would not call your basic now. I would say you're very near to intermediate level, but it also depends on how much you are spending time in practicing SQL queries. Okay, but definitely I would not say advanced level. Okay, Advanced level, you should be super comfortable with using recursive SQL queries, uh, maybe performance tuning, etc., etc. Okay. Uh, as a fresher, RDBMS is enough or any other programming language? It depends on what your uh, what is the role that you're targeting, right, Ramesh? What is your role that you're targeting? Do you want to become an SQL developer? Then RDBMS is enough. Okay. But if you want to become a data analyst, then I would highly recommend that you learn Power BI. Okay, Power BI or Tableau, any one tool. You can actually put Python a little later. I would say first SQL, second a visualization tool. Okay, Power BI or Tableau. I would prefer Power BI because Power BI is easy to learn. Okay, and then next comes Python. Okay, Excel is default. You have to know Excel, and Excel you can learn in, I would say Excel you can learn in half a day. Okay, you don't have to become expert in Excel, but basic Excel you can learn in half a day. Okay, so I'm actually making a video probably next week. I'll tell you how you can become an data analyst very quickly. Okay, which companies are freshers? Can you suggest? Actually, I'm not very familiar with fresher hirings currently, so I would not be able to suggest. They will have a tough time. Bangalore Mumbai distance problem missed. Okay, so this Bangalore Mumbai problem, right? I wanted to discuss it. Now, actually, I'm also exhausted speaking. Okay, and I don't have the energy to talk more. Uh, I, I'll ask permission from the person who posted it. If he's okay, maybe I'll make a YouTube video next week on that particular problem. Okay, I actually faced that problem in one of the interviews, if I remember properly. So I think this kind of problem can be asked in an interview, and there's a very interesting. It's an interesting problem. So I'll make a YouTube video if I get his consent. Okay, I'll ask it in Telegram group. Someone here wanted 200 plus lines of SQL. Try A/B test using SQL. Kidding. Okay, this is great Lighthall class on Excel. Okay, so Tim has suggested a Lighthall class on Excel. Maybe you guys can check it out. Having mainframe experience of 7 years is possible to get interview chance for data analysis for experience. I think any experience that you have, right, it's going to be useful. Okay, because when you have any work experience, right, it's not just about the skills that you have learned or the programming or the tools that you have used. Like one of the biggest things about experienced people is they will know how to handle people, how to handle different situations, right? Because what is the most important thing about an experienced person is that when there is a problem, when you are stuck, or when you have a difficult client to deal with, when you have some rude colleagues to deal with, when you have rude managers to deal with experience you will get the confidence to handle such situations in a better way. As a fresher, if they come, I have seen so many times. Okay, freshers are super talented. The problem that they lack is how to handle people. Okay, how to handle the wrong people, right? The people who are not very nice. Okay, how to handle difficult situations. All of these things can be easily handled by an experienced person. Okay, so if you have experience, whether it is in mainframes or some other technology, it will always be valuable. Okay, just learn the skills that you require for a new job, maybe SQL, or if you want to come to data analysis, then learn SQL and Power BI. Okay, and the 7 years of mainframe experience will still be useful. Okay, maybe you'll never use mainframes in your data analysis, but the things that you have learned in 7 years, it will be helpful in one way or the other. Okay, so don't treat yourself like fresher. If you come to data analysis, you still come with all your experience. Okay, just the tools are different, the programming languages are different. That's it. Please share with us whatever video you make. I'll put it in my YouTube. If you are subscribed, I think you will get notified if you have clicked on the notification button. He also teaches Python. I plan on taking Python both with him and Python when his course is ready. Okay, that's good, Tim. The Excel guy also teaches Tableau. And okay, soft skills. How fast do you company expect intermediate person to solve a problem? How fast do you expect? There is no definition on how fast we expect person to solve the problem. Like, I'll tell you one thing. Okay, in my own experience I have seen, people who climb the ladder very fast are not actually the people who are the most skilled. The people who can communicate very well are the people who actually climb the ladder very fast. Okay, so let's say there are two different person, who is one person who is like super good with SQL. He can solve the most complex problem, like let's say in half the time the other person would solve. But the other person can communicate with other with all the management very effectively, then there is a very high chance that the person who can communicate well will climb the ladder much faster than the person who is an expert in SQL. Okay, so there is no time thing like intermediate person should solve it in 10 minutes and the expert should solve it in 5 minutes. It depends on the problem itself. Okay, but let's say if you are stuck, but even when you are stuck, if you can convey why you are stuck in a very effective way to your manager or your lead, then they will still be happy with that. Okay, so no one is going to keep a gun on your head telling that you have to solve it in 5 minutes. Okay, if you're not able to solve it in 5 minutes, after 3 minutes, just go to them and tell them, hey, I think this problem is pretty challenging. I have tried to do that. I have got this output, but I think I need to do something else. Okay, maybe to do that something else, I need some more time. Okay, if you can communicate that in an effective way, the other person is going to understand. Okay, and they are not going to think that you are dumb. Okay, so it's all about how you communicate. Okay, your soft skills matters as much as your technical skills or whatever. By the way, have you ever visited? Have you vis- Thanks, Suraj. And I'm actually from India, so um, I lived all my life in India only. I'm last 5 years I'm living in Malaysia. So yeah, so I will be coming to India for a vacation very soon. But I wouldn't compare him to Tawfiq at the. Okay, thanks, Tim. What about you? Are coming from a non-tech background? How can I use my past experience in the tech world? So as I told you, right, Sandrine, like uh, any work experience that you have, you should bring forward that experience, whether you might be in teaching or whether you might, I don't know, maybe something completely non-technical, right? Your experience is not only going to help you with your technical skills but also with your soft skills, right? You become more confident to deal with difficult situations. Okay, when we are hiring people, we want people who would basically not get scared when this when so if generally what we want in IT is who have the courage to face clients. Okay, and clients are not going to be very nice, they might be very rude. Okay, but when you speak to a rude person, how do you handle yourself? How do you still be respectful towards the other person? Because your client is rude, that does not mean that you just take a pen and start smashing him, right? You still or you just become blank and you don't know what to respond, right? So we look for people who have the courage to respond in a respectful way. Even if their technical skills are not that good, they will learn, right? So whatever experience you have, bring forward whatever things that you have learned with your soft skills. And the technical skills, you can always learn it. Anyone can learn technical skill, anyone can learn SQL, anyone can learn Python. It's just a matter of time. Okay, but how do you handle difficult situations? That's what is actually going to be your make or break situation, okay, in your career. Should we go in startup after 3 years? If you There is nothing wrong with startup. I worked my first company. I worked for 4.5 years. My second company was a startup. I actually joined as the very first employee, but I left the startup in after 1 year because they did not have any other project after the first project. But I have done all the experiments. I have joined big companies. I have joined startups. So if the opportunity is good, if you have good chance of growth in your career, and if the salary everything is fine, then no harm in joining startup. And actually startup is better because in case the startup will shine, you will also shine with that. In a very big company, you are just another employee along with the 1,000 other employees. In a startup, you will just be another employee among the other 10 employees. Okay, so you will be easily recognized, you can directly talk to the CEO, you will grow faster. Okay, and you will learn a lot more things. Come to America, the big. Okay, thanks, Tim. Maybe someday. How to break down a question to write queries. Actually, how to break down a question to write queries, I keep explaining this in my YouTube videos. Every video that I make, I'm telling you how do you break a problem, how do you come up with an approach. So maybe you watch my videos. Of course, there are many other YouTubers who are making fantastic SQL videos, so you can watch them as well. I actually transitioned from non-CS background, and what I can say, keep learning, and yes, past experience really helps. Okay, that's true, Rahul. So Rahul is sharing his experience, and what I said, your past experience will always help you. Okay, there are some people who reached out to me telling that they have 5 years of teaching experience, and they are telling in their resume, should they mention that they have 5 years of teaching experience or should they not? And I tell them that, of course, you mention it. Whatever experience you have as a teacher or as whatever, right? It is all going to be helpful. Okay, do not hide your experience. Would you recommend remote position for someone beginner to advanced? Okay, I am not a big fan of remote positions. Okay, as soon as I get an opportunity where they tell it is a remote role, I straight away say no. Okay, because but I know it is very useful certain people. Okay, for me, remote position is not good personally, is because I want to work closely with the team. Okay, I want to connect with the team. For me, that is the interesting part about working for a company, right? I want to have a team around so that I can make friends. And I'm actually an introvert, so the only way I can make friends is if I go to an office, if I meet people. Otherwise, I'm not going to be going out and making friends myself. So I want to be in a team environment. And it also, when you're working with a team, you don't. It's like you can take their help, you can help others, you can. There are lot of benefits, right? And if you're working in a remote position, you still need to sit at home. And I think it will be boring. For me, it's boring, but maybe I know some. I think my wife would love remote position. She would love to sit at home and work. Okay, but for me, I would love to go to office, be with the team, and then work. Okay, so that's just my personal preference. But nothing wrong in both of them. It's your personal choice. My future code's time zone, I think it's going to be very different. I'm not sure. So let's see. What kind of project SQL? I'll actually be going to Europe. So from Europe, I think the time zone is very different from the time zone in Malaysia and in. I don't know, man. Like I'll see what will happen with that time zone. What kind of projects SQL and others can one put on portfolio? SQL projects is very difficult, man. Like S, um, when it comes to SQL, right? Like to be frank, okay, what project you can put for SQL is you learn Power BI, okay, or something, some visualization tool, and you can put a project where you extracted the data from some cloud database or something, or from somewhere, and then you did some initial cleaning of that data using SQL. You did some basic analysis. Okay, you created that. Maybe you created a report in SQL, using SQL queries, and then you visualize that report using a Power BI tool. Okay, this can be a very good project in my opinion. Okay, try to build a report where you have a data set, and you do your analysis, you do your cleaning and everything, and then you write one query or multiple queries, and you maybe that is your report. Okay, telling that which is the top selling cars in the last 10 years in America. Okay, or which is the least performing stock in the stock market in the last 2 years. Okay, something like this. Okay, you extract the data, you put it into some tables, you write a query to find the top performing stocks in the stock market in the last 10 years or something, and then you connect this to a Power BI tool, and then you pull that into Power BI, and then you can make beautiful dashboards there, right? I think this can be a good project for SQL, which also involves a visualization tool. I have small kids, so remote work is good for me. I also live far away from cities where I could work. The commute would be rough. Okay, so I think this is a very good scenario for Tim, right? If you have this kind of a requirement, then I think yes. If you cannot travel to work and you have family at home whom you need to take care, then remote work is fantastic, right? I actually do not have any kids, and I do not mind traveling. So for me, I think the other way around is good. Can you put projects that you did as part of the course in portfolio? Please let us know your thoughts. I want to put projects. Okay, I'll probably make videos. The project that I told you, right? This is the kind of project that I wanted to make. I'll probably make it next year. Okay, once I get settled in my new job. You save on commute time though. Yes. Okay. I prefer to travel 20 to 30 minutes every day to office. Okay. Because if currently my office is just 5 minutes walk. Okay, and it's kind of boring for me because it feels that I'm just in the same place. If I just had a commute, it would be like I'm just seeing something else other than my office and home. Okay. Okay. How do you clean data? It's like maybe a question that I can take some other day. Okay. Some maybe a YouTube video on its own. Okay. How do you clean data? Okay. So I think I'm going to end the session now. And I hope this session was useful, a Q&A session. Um, I think I did not answer the question from someone, right? I'll try to answer them separately in Telegram. And that query that I told, I'll try to make a video about that. Okay. So I'm going to end the session here, and this is the end of the course. I truly feel, I truly want to believe that this was a good course. Okay. Because I gave my 100% to give you what I had. Okay. Um, is it enough for becoming SQL expert? Absolutely not. No course is enough for you to become an expert in any programming language. It's your hard work, it's your practice. But I think I have given whatever I could, and I hope you have learned uh, good things from this course, and hopefully you gain a lot of success in your career and in your personal life from whatever you have learned here. Okay, that's the only thing that I hope. Any feedback that you have, put it in the testimonial in Light Hall. Positive, negative, both are welcome. Okay. um, yeah, so okay, all the coaching, all the clarifying thoughts. Okay, thanks Sandeep, thanks Suraya. They enjoyed this course. You are instructor, you patience, knowledge and communication. Okay, thanks James. Okay, thanks Shantanu, Sandrine. Okay, thanks a lot. Okay, we will keep practicing and learn. Okay, that's good, Shantanu. Thanks, Prashant. Good luck with your new job. Stay in touch. Okay, thanks, Suraya. Thank you, Kaizong. I learned a lot this time. It helped me place up to place after work. Okay, that's good, Tim. Glad to hear that. Thanks, Ramesh. Your knowledge, appreciate your effort. Thanks, Bhavesh. It was really good course, but yes, one needs to practice with lots of. Absolutely, yes. Thanks, Sandeep. Please also make course on SQL performance tuning in the future, Kaizong, probably to gain additional confidence. Very, very, very search for all of us. I look forward to more of course. Yeah, thanks, Tim. Uh, thank you, Kaizong. Thank you, Yoga. Thank you, Divan. I'll certainly leave a resume list. I hadn't thought of that. Okay, thanks, Tim. Thanks, Ramesh. Thanks, Mani. Rahul, thank you. Tofi, okay, thank you. Thank you, Rabia. Thank you, Olivia. Gonna go back to recording for practice. Yes, please utilize the recording. It's there for 6 months. Yeah. Okay, so thank you, everyone. And yeah, so hopefully in future class or future course, we will meet again. Until then, thank you, everyone. And I'll be sharing all the files and inbuilt Excel file, inbuilt functions Excel file in Telegram and in Lighthall within the next 2 days. Okay. Okay. So bye bye.